your poo-poo.
Hey everybody, welcome to TreeBot Talks, and today we are finally going to talk about Transformers Rise of the Beast. I know I've been putting this off. I saw it a week ago, but now I've taken it in enough. I've gathered my opinions, and I am finally ready to talk about it. You will notice I'm wearing a hat because I did get a haircut. So, let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to tell you right now, there will be spoilers. However, I'm going to talk non-spoilers first, just to get that out of the way so you guys can have a little bit of enjoyment if you haven't seen the movie and be able to get my normal opinions. First off, the movie was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was well paced. The soundtrack was wonderful. I thought everything about it, except for a couple things, were really, really good. I'm gonna say Anthony Ramos is probably my new favorite human character in all of the movies. He has very real problems, you know. He's a very real and relatable character. And the same goes for Dominique, her character as well. What was her name? Elena. She's a very, very relatable character also. She just wants to work really hard and get recognition for her hard work. And then as for the rest of the cast, the Autobots are cool. The Terracons, really threatening looking villains, and they're very entertaining to watch. I think out of all of the Autobots, my favorite character was naturally Optimus. He has some moments in there in the small character arc that really makes me think that this is one of my favorite incarnations of Optimus that I've seen out of all of the franchise, to be honest. That beats out Bayverse. I'm not going to pretend I don't like the Bayverse, because I still do. But also Unicron trilogy, of course, and even G1. I think it's better than G1's depiction. Beginning of the movie, very interesting start to the movie, the way things go, and yeah, it's a very differently. I'll say this, very differently paced than what we're used to in terms of live action movies. Now it does get a little slow in the middle a little bit, but it just picks right back up. I'm fine with that. That's one of the things I didn't care for. It kind of slows down right there, but it immediately makes up for it, so I'm fine with that. Now, robot voice acting was fantastic. We had Pete Davidson, Liza Koshy, Optimus, Peter Cullen, and we had Ron Perlman as Primal, and then other people I can't really remember for the other characters because I didn't really talk much. But Liza Koshy was really cool as RC. And Pete Davidson was, I loved Pete. He was awesome. He's one of my favorite actors and comedians personally. But I think I was a little bit skeptical at first, but I was very happy with how it turned out. And he just really sold it for me as the main Autobot that we are with most of the time as the audience. But he was really entertaining, way more entertaining than anything honestly I've seen of Pete Davidson, except for his stand-up, but that's completely different. But yeah, that's really most of the stuff about the voice acting. And this will be the last thing I will state. It is a reboot. It's 100% a reboot. There is no tie to the Bayverse at all. There's nothing that remotely ties it to the Bayverse except for 2 or 3 tiny little references, and other than that, completely unrelated.
Suck it, Bonaventura.
But yeah, overall, I really like the movie. I cannot complain about it. It's probably my favorite. I'm gonna say my order of movies right now. It's probably gonna be Rise of the Beast on top. Then we go with Bumblebee, the Dark of the Moon, the 2007 movie, Revenge of the Fallen, Age of Extinction, and The Last Night, in that order. I still really like the Bayverse, but this new universe is very promising to me. So I am really looking forward to how this goes in the future. because we're going to get more. I know we're going to get more, and I'm sure Stephen Cable Jr. is going to come back, and he's going to own it like he did this movie. It was a wonderful film. I have very minimal complaints. But to get into complaints, we're going to have to go into spoiler talk, and I'm going to start that right now. So if you do not want to get spoiled, click off right now and go get your butt to a Cinemax or a AMC or another independent theater that you're watching it at. But go watch it right now. Go get that. Go get that done. All right, you on? All right, spoiler talk. So, the opening of the movie, absolutely awesome. I thought the way it opens with the Maximals planet and they're having to escape from the Terracons is great, and the introduction to Scourge was really cool, and deep cut reference at the very beginning. I mean, freaking Ape Link is in the movie. Like, that's nuts. For those of you who don't know, and those of you who've seen the movie and don't know, Ape Link is a BotCon character. More or less actually a 3H BotCon OTFCC character that was won a wrecker at one point, I believe, and he has a couple toys and they're all expensive as hell. So I'm really hoping that we get a Studio Series figure of him. It would be really cool to see that, because this is a really cool design. It's completely accurate to how they should have done it. He is, in the original fiction, he is a alternate version of the way Primal looks. So, in the fiction, he's a green, like a drab green and maroon Optimus Primal, and here he's just a bigger Optimus Primal with blades and orange or red eyes, something like that, and then his face is a little bit different. So, I mean, it's supposed to look similar to Primal, but he's still got his own type of, like, flavor, you know. But yeah, that was really cool. It's kind of sad that he kind of got put down like a punk by Scourge, but it really did show how strong Scourge is, you know. So that was nice to see. Then we see Unicron. Oh my god, that was awesome to see on the big screen. I'd never seen Unicron on the big screen, and no, I'm not counting the last night. That does not count. There were just 6 horns that came out of the ground. That doesn't count. But it was cool to see him devour their planet. I mean, it was sad that they lost their planet, but it was still a spectacle to see. It was awesome. And then we get into I'm trying to remember the order here. I don't think we touched on the Autobots yet. I think we went straight into Noah's story. And a big thing about him was his brother, I think, has sickle cell anemia, I believe, and it's really affecting his brother, and he needs to get treatment. Well, Noah's trying his best to help out and get a job, and you see him try to get a job, and they tell him no, and it's really interesting because they're like, I can't have people like you on my team, and at first you think you know where it's going with that, but they completely turn it, and I really like that Stephen did this with the dialogue, that they turned it the other way instead of making it about Noah's race. They made it about his inability to be a team leader or work as a team with people, and has no team building skills as a veteran. And I thought that was a really interesting thing that played into his character arc. So that was really cool to see them to talk about. And then we get into later on the backstory of Dominique's character Elena. She's a archaeologist, I believe, or something like that. She's an archaeologist intern, something of that nature. And she stumbles upon, which is why the Maximals are escaped anyway. Scourge and Unicron are after this thing called the Transwarp Key, which is a lingo from Beast Wars, which is a cool callback. So it's a weird thing that's shaped like the Enigma of Combination, but when we see it here, it's broken half. So when Elena stumbles upon it, she finds it, and she accidentally activates it. And this is what leads us into meeting all the Autobots. It activates, shoots this big thing in the air, and then Optimus is in this bus yard, which I'm assuming is the transit, like, cut-off scene of the transit scene. He's in the bus yard and transforms and sees this thing shoot up, immediately freaks out and calls all the Autobots, tells them to meet. and RC gets her first bit of dialogue there, and it's really cool. And then we go over and we talk to Noah, and this is kind of where we see him. This scene gets gradual, and he meets Mirage. He tries to steal him from this parking garage where all these rich folk are parking their fancy cars, and he thought, well, this car's been there for weeks. I'm just gonna. His buddy's like, hey, you can steal it and sell it. He's like, I'm not a thief. Blah blah blah. Well, then he steals it, and we've seen the scene in the trailers. It's actually way better. Of course it is. It's the movie, but it's way longer than what we've seen in the trailer, of course. And it's really entertaining scene to watch. And then he takes him to where he dumps him, and then he meets all the Autobots. And this is kind of where you see RC kind of have a second in command type role, and also you see Optimus having a strange, I guess, prejudice towards humans. He doesn't really trust them, which is an interesting take on Optimus Prime. And that's one thing I really liked about this movie. It really shows his arc from I'm very cautious about humans because they seem pretty selfish, and I just want to watch out for my own people. And he feels, on top of that, there's a feeling of guilt because they've been here for 7 years on Earth, and they've not done it. Like, he just expected to be a short little pit stop to get back to Cybertron and reclaim it from the Decepticons, and they're stranded there, you know? So now that they're stuck there, he feels a certain amount of blame because he led these Autobots to this planet, and they're all stuck there, you know? So I really thought that was a very big moment for me in the movie when Optimus said all that. And then they go to the museum and figure out, well, Noah can get us in because he can fit through the little door. So they go on with that, and we get going, and Noah is getting into the museum, and Elena's still there. And there's a really good scene with Bumblebee. And honestly, Bumblebee's not in this movie very much, and I'll get to that in a second, but his scenes in this movie are gold. Like, best scenes. Bumblebee has some of the best scenes in this movie. So he's standing there with Optimus talking about humans, and Optimus like, I can't trust them, blah, blah, blah. I know one was good to you. Making a call back to Charlie from Bumblebee, and I thought that was nice too. And then he looks up at Optimus and goes, you can't handle the truth. And Optimus looks down and he goes, I do not want you going to that drive-in movie anymore. And I thought that was hilarious. That was one of the funniest jokes in the movie. And then and that's another thing that I wanted to break off too. The movie does not do any of the crazy frat boy jokes that people get up in arms about in Revenge of the Fallen. There are a couple like double entendre, like innuendo type jokes, but they don't outstay their welcome, and they're actually really, really well played and kind of funny. So that works in this movie. So then after they get to this museum is where the big part happens, and they have a fight with the Terracons. They take half the key, and the big moment is Scourge kills Bumblebee, like just straight up stabs him, and we've seen it in the trailer. He stabs him and kills him right there, and that's one of the reasons when I made my Rise of the Beast video a week ago for my toy review, I didn't use any Scourge footage because a lot of that was spoilery in the movie, or a lot of the Scourge scenes that they used in the trailer were pretty spoilery, so I didn't want to use that if no one had seen the trailers. So yeah, Scourge just kills Bumblebee and leaves him there, and they take the key, but then Air Razor comes and saves them. But that was a big part of it. And then Bumblebee's out for most of the film. So they go to Peru with the Maximals and meet them and blah blah blah. And that's when they're discussing with Optimus and RC are talking, like, the only way we can save him is if we get him back to Cybertron. Well, that was when they're on Stratosphere. And later on in the movie has probably my favorite scene probably in the whole movie is when Stratosphere, there's a big Energon surge in this area, and that's where all the Energon is on Earth, is this area in Peru. Well, there's a big surge during the final fight, and it resurrects Bumblebee. It wakes him up, and they're like, "Oh crap, he's healed." Well, Stratosphere flies him over, and he jumps out while playing LL Cool J's "Mama Said Knock You Out," and it's an awesome scene. It's so cool. So that was really cool. And then now Stratosphere, I want to talk about. He's not very deep in this movie, but it is cool to see him. And I don't know how I predicted this. But I had said in my Discord with that toy guy, we were talking about some stuff leading up to the movie, and I had brought up the fact that with John DiMaggio voicing Stratosphere, he might sound like the Scotsman from Samurai Jack, and he sounds exactly like the Scotsman. I thought that was awesome. He gets like 2 lines, but it's still he's still a cool looking character, and he's huge because he's a plane that hauls the Autobots around, which that was great for me. I was fine with that. And then the big one being with Mirage's death. He dies, and then Noah gets that big that suit that's like Kicker from Energon, and I thought that was badass. That was so cool to see. And then their final fight, the final fight in the movie is fantastic. And Optimus's aggression towards Scourge because he killed Bumblebee, which that's one thing I wanted to also bring up. People are a little bit miffed about Optimus's attitude towards Scourge and just like wanting to kill him. Well, I'm gonna counter with this. Scourge killed Bumblebee. Like, killed him. Yeah, and I'm sure Optimus, after realizing that Unicron was involved, knew that they were very bad threats to the Earth and them. I'm sure he knew that he needed to kill them because of that reason, you know. But yeah, the way the movie ends with that fight scene, the big like Infinity War style fight scene, just running around throwing it at blind enemies, I thought that was great, and you can tell better what's going on. I love the Bayverse, but there are some fights that you cannot tell what's going on at all. Like mainly the Bumblebee and Barricade fight in the first movie. Good lord, that one gives me a headache when I watch it. And I love that movie to death, and I still get a headache watching it. But no, you can tell everything is intentional in the scenes. Like RC's gymnastic flips by Wheeljack, and their moment on the mountain also was a good scene where they're chasing, I think, Battletrap and Nightbird, and RC with the slow-mo scene where RC ducks back in the trailer, and she's like, you know, in the movie, it's funny, you can read her lips, and she's dropping an F-bomb, and it's hilarious because there's no denying it. It's so obvious that you can't tell, which there's no audio. It's just like that slow-mo, like pent up, like build up kind of noise, you know, and it's just her voice going as the missile flies by, and I thought that was funny. But overall, I really liked the movie. Now, there are a couple problems I had. One of them was it doesn't really explain the extent of Mirage's capabilities as with the hologram stuff. He uses it in really weird ways. One thing is the garbage truck getting into the museum. I did kind of theorize that, and it made more sense when I thought about it, but it doesn't make too much sense when you're thinking about it because of mass shifting and whatnot. So you have to say, oh, it was definitely his hologram taking over, you know. But that was okay. Another thing I did like was Noah and Mirage's relationship in the movie. It was pretty good as they built up, and the same thing with Optimus and Noah's relationship. It ended up coming to a head, and they became respectful of each other and actually became good friends. Noah proved to Optimus that humans weren't so bad, and Optimus proved to Noah that he was more of a team player than Noah thought. And then another thing we gotta talk about is the final scene in the credits. I really like where this is gonna go, but I'm also kind of a little bit skeptical the way another movie went recently. Noah is revealed to be getting offered by G.I. Joe for a job. And yeah, so that's setting up movies for God knows when or what. I'm going to be interested to see what that is, where that goes. But considering Snake Eyes is terrible, I hope they're restarting or making this a different universe from all the G.I. Joes. But we shall see what happens with that. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I am looking forward to doing more toy reviews of characters from this movie and more discussions about the movie. And wow. For a Bayverse fan, this was absolutely wonderful. I like the fact that we can just let the Bayverse rest and we can have a new universe built up. And I think it's going to work wonders now that we've got a clean slate that we can build on and have a new lore, new universe, everything. And with Unicron out there, there's endless possibilities, and the Decepticons still on Cybertron. There's a lot of new stuff we can do with this universe. So I am really looking forward to what they do with this. I really like Rise of the Beast. But hey, in the comments, let me know what you thought. Just be on the lookout for more videos as usual. I've been TreeBot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Corrosion.